I've checked the years, and a lot of these stories may be from the early 1950s, and that was the transitional period for the times when comics were being made. We still have the Joker as a career criminal, but he obviously isn't the sociopathic killer he'd first appeared as. But this is way before we would start seeing things like Batman fighting aliens that used plants to rob banks. Yep, alien plants. The internet show Top the Fourth Wall can tell you more about that. We started seeing the Joker's utility belt, something that you don't really see anymore these days. He made it almost completely out of jealousy. I was looking at a story that pretty much was a callback to all the costumes Batman wore. And they could get really crazy back then. Like a zebra outfit. If you look closely, the artist for these stories, Dick Sprang, is often considered one of the definitive writers and artists when it comes to Batman comics. After Jerry Robinson and Bob Kane, and of course Bill Finger, the creators who originally worked on him, you can really see just how influential this style can be, because you've got episodes of Batman the Animated Series, Legends of the Dark Knight, that did an entire segment in this style. And the Batman the Brave and the Bold series was clearly based almost entirely on this style. It was a love letter to the entirety of the Silver Age as well. So yeah, still a lot more of the Silver Age goofiness. My apologies if the camera's a little off. I'm trying to flash forward a little here so we can start to see where the goofiness of the Silver Age ended and where more towards the modern iterations of the character as well as comics in general started. Let's see. Joker Fury. It's hotly debated exactly where this stuff, the Silver Age goofiness ended, and where a lot more of, but it's often agreed that the Joker's Five-Way Revenge, first published in 1973, I think? It says so in the contents. Apologies, I'm literally doing this a lot of my videos guerrilla style. Yes. So, 1973. The writer at the time of the Batman comics, Dennis O'Neil, was desperately trying to save the Batman comics at the time. After the Adam West TV show was taken off the air, the sales of the comics declined, and a lot of people do attribute it to the fact that, the campiness of the show and the selling power that it had was no longer around, so they obviously couldn't keep doing what they'd been doing for years. So, I'm not going to do a review of this story, but the Joker's Five-Way Revenge, as well as a lot of Denny O'Neil's work, would be the inspiration a decade later for a lot of the elements in Tim Burton's Batman movies. The designs, a lot of the characteristics, especially, I don't know if it was seen yet, but there was a panel where someone's face twists into a smile that he'd done for years. There's another story in here that also has some significance much later. The Laughing Fish. Surprisingly, that story was not written in the Silver Age, and if you aren't familiar, The Laughing Fish, I don't think it was the debut episode of the show that gave us Harley Quinn, but it is, I think, the one that gave us a lot of the insight into who the character would become and what she'd eventually, a lot of her characteristics that she'd inherit over the years. 226, okay. Yes, believe it or not, 1978. You'd think a story like that would actually be well out of its way by 1978. But, I guess they just tried to keep a lot of the spirit of or I guess some elements of the Silver Age just never really died, even though the age itself did. This is still during the Bronze Age of comics, which, much like the 50s to the 60s, was a transitional period.